Tara, welcome to Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
We've been trying to do this for a long time to
Yes.
interview you, and it just wasn't happening. And finally, we're here and we're doing this interview. So this is an amazing place, this Hearts Museum, and it's where we do a lot of our Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes, filming of these just amazing veteran stories.
Yes.
So, but you're a story in itself because you're behind all this. And so where are you from?
Well, I was born in Maryland, in southern Maryland, and we moved to Houston when I was 7 years old. So I lived in Houston, graduated from high school there, and then moved to Huntsville about 30 years ago.
Wow. So what's your connection to the military?
Well, I'm a granddaughter on both sides, and then my son also serves. He's actively serving now.
Where is he?
He's at Fort Hood.
What's he do?
He's military intelligence.
Wow. That's a whole joke about your military.
Yes, I know.
You probably heard them all.
A million times.
Yeah. So how did this start? How did you get involved with this museum?
Well, I started taking my children to the museum when it was located in the mall before they moved to this location. It was a great place to take your kids when it was rainy or nasty outside. But when my son joined the Army, I had a full-time insurance practice with Police and Firemen's Insurance. And I decided, well, he was serving our country, I'd find a way to serve our community. So I started volunteering up here for their events. And the administrative assistant left abruptly before a large event, and they asked me to step in and help on the administrative side. So I did. And that lasted for about a year and a half, and then the executive director had to step down, and so they just told me to move offices. So for 3 years, I've been the executive director here, and it's been an honor.
I think it's perfect for you. And to anybody that's not been here, it is a destination location. Even if you're not in the state, it is worth a trip because all the things that were donated are very personal things.
Yes.
So it's not about big static displays. What this was the warrants and pictures. These were actually unbelievable pictures, uniforms, weapons, and they're connected to the people of this community.
Yes. 90% of everything that we have here at our museum was donated by local veterans and their families. And all of my tour guides are veterans or veteran family members, and their memorabilia is also showcased in the museum so they can tell their story.
Yeah, and what's neat is when we film up here, a lot of times I get to do the interviews in front of the actual displays of the people that serve, and it's amazing. So what's a day like in this museum? I mean, what is it like? what do you do?
Well, every day is an adventure. We do a lot of outreach here at our museum. It's so much more than just a museum. So on any given day, we have phone calls coming in for people that need assistance with their claims, disability ratings, wheelchair ramps, home modifications, groceries, utility bills, anything that a veteran and their family may need. And we strive really hard to work with our local VFW, American Legion, Elks Lodge to get those needs met. We've been highly successful at that, so I'm honored to be a part of that. But on a day-to-day basis here at the museum, for instance, this morning, we had 45 children come from a private school here in town. Had 4 tour guides on hand, and they split them up in groups and take them around. So lots of activity, children everywhere, veterans everywhere. We have a lot of fun.
And it's real history. It's not the woke history.
No, it's real history, and this is probably one of the only places they get it.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. So I got to tell a story about you. We were filming one day, and I'm rolling past your office, right? And I hear "not so nice, Tara," and you are like chewing into somebody. It's like, I'm glad you're my friend. I wouldn't want to be your enemy. You were chewing into somebody about a veteran that got discharged. He didn't have his meds. It was totally unacceptable. And you were like a pit bull. You were not going to get off that phone till you had an answer. And
right.
That's amazing that.
Right. Well, sometimes you have to be the voice. There's no family there to assist. They're on their own. That particular veteran was a homeless veteran. We have a facility here in town called Veterans and Patriots United, and it's transitional housing for homeless veterans. We help them get their benefits. We help them if they have drug addiction or alcohol addiction get into programs. We also make sure they're taken care of through the VA and on their proper medication. Well, this particular veteran had gone through a program, gotten his medication delivered to the program. Well, they released the veteran but kept all of his medications.
Wow.
So it was up to me because the doctor wasn't going to give him any more medications, and he is not easy to handle without medications. So I had to go to bat for him, and needless to say, we got the medications the next day.
I don't doubt it. So there is an organization, and you're familiar with it. It's General Hummer is also involved with it. It's called Combined Arms.
Yes.
And they're a clearinghouse. But what I started to realize about this museum is, you're right, it's not just a museum, it's a clearinghouse.
Right.
Because you're not only a pit bull for veterans, but if somebody's not behaving and they've stood up a veterans organization and you're involved with them and they're in this local area and they're not doing the right thing, you've been an advocate, to shut things down or rearrange things or get it done right, or get off the field.
Yes, sir. We believe, that of all the groups in the United States that we need to be taking care of, our veterans are priority number one. So we fight very hard for their benefits and for their rights and for their needs.
Yeah. So what are tell me some more of the organizations just here locally, because when they donate to you, it's very transparent. I mean, when you're donating to the Hartsville Museum, whether it be things or money, I mean, you're filling a lot of holes. And there's a lot of organizations that you work with. What are some of the organizations locally here?
Well, we're partners with the Veterans and Patriots United to help with those veterans I just mentioned. The American Legion is a very close partner with us. The Elks Lodge here in town. The VFW actually meets here at our museum. And so they're very supportive. They do that so they have no overhead. Therefore, all the money they bring in on their raffles or on their memberships goes back to taking care of veterans. So they're a tremendous partner for us to have. But we also have a lot of veterans that we send through programs. Lone Survivor Foundation, which is now Operation Red Wings, we've sent several people through their new program that's out at Camp Coyote. We've sent several people through the Mighty Oaks program. I have a very personal tie to that. And so we strive to get the veterans the help that they need any way that we can.
And we share that because, we were with Chad and Kathy when they were beginning the program. And then I was so excited when I saw that you sponsored, and I was actually here that year. In fact, I was walking when that first happened. You first brought the Mighty Oaks up here to sponsor them with your steak dinner. And that was an eye-opener to see 1,300 people at an event, on the fairgrounds to support veterans and to support Mighty Oaks. That was over the top, and that in a community that isn't very large.
Well, that program was started by the Fordyce family. Sharon and Tom started that years ago when we had a huge influx of veterans coming in from the War on Terror. And they were all going to Fort Sam Houston. The families were trying to go in and see them. There was nowhere for the families to check them out for the day or to go on a walk with them or just get them outside for some fresh air. And that's when the Family Center came about. And so Tom was adamant about starting a fundraiser to be able to funnel that money back so that the families had somewhere to quote unquote, check their soldiers out for the day. So once that was built, and then we saw the influx of soldiers starting to slow down, thank God. Then they started looking for other organizations, and that's how Mighty Oaks came into play as being a recipient of that. But you're right, feeding 1,300 people ribeye steak dinners, that's something.
And it's good.
It's wonderful, yes.
It's like amazing
yes.
steaks, and I've enjoyed that event so many times. I'm so thankful that you're doing all this. It's just a remarkable. What's your favorite part of the museum? If you have a favorite spot in the museum?
That's hard because I have so many that I've grown so close to, and each one of their stories and in each one of their areas, I feel that personal connection. So I don't think I really have a favorite spot. I have several spots that are pretty special to me. Yeah,
I think that if I was opening up the doors here in the morning when it's quiet and walking around, I think it would be like an emotional event. I could imagine just walking through this place and praying and being thankful and having my quiet time in here, because these are selfless servants, just kind of like the Christ who we serve, was a selfless servant to us.
Yes, yeah, it gets really emotional, especially when we lose one and his or her pictures on the wall. And it's kind of like when I was speaking with Brian Talley, I told him, I said, you not only see their face in that photo, but while you're standing there, you remember their voice, their laugh, their smile. So this place does live and breathe. I tell people that all the time. You know, most places you go, museums, it's all stuff of the past. You know, it's all old. It's all something that used to be. But these are men and women that were just here, and you can still hear that and feel that. And I think it's a really unique experience.
And we're talking World War II veterans that were still alive.
Yes.
We're losing them every day, but I've interviewed several up here.
Yes.
And to sit and they point to their stuff and they talk about it. It's overwhelming.
It is. It is. One of my favorite memories was of a man that we had here, Mr. James Allen. He never would speak about his service in World War II. Never. And something brought him here when he was in his late 90s, and we met. We started talking. And he finally brought up a picture in his service records. And we started hanging out. And I told him one day, I said, come on and go with a ride. You know, let's go to town. So we jumped in the Humvee. Well, there was a Christmas parade, and he didn't know. He also didn't know he was the Grand Marshal of that Christmas parade.
You are amazing.
And we were on the front page of the paper, and he was throwing candy and waving at the kids. He had the best time. And then Michael Martin Murphy came to town, and he gave us front row seats for several of the veterans. And I took him down there, and it was his Christmas show. So there was dancers and all kinds of stuff. And you couldn't have wiped the smile from his face. But as we're walking back to the cars, the sidewalks are brick, so they're really slippery. So my husband and my son and everybody was with us, but I walked up there and I slipped my arm through his and I said, would you escort me to my car? And he patted my hand and he says, I just love you. He said, I know you just don't want this old man to fall down on this sidewalk, but you're making it look like I'm escorting you. He said, you're the most amazing thing. And I just loved him. But who knew that at 94 years of age, I'd meet one of my best friends. You know, he was amazing. And we lost him into the COVID. And it was hard. It was hard because we had such great times. You know, the last 2 years of his life were just filled with funny memories. And he said, I never got into trouble all these years until I started hanging out with you. I said, yeah, but it's fun trouble. So it's memories like that just, it keeps me going every day.
And I think that's what's so wonderful about having you in this museum, in this position, is you're so connected to the veterans and the stories, and and you can speak for them.
Yes.
You know, and that's what's left. That's their legacy that now we're speaking for them, and we can't ever let forget it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Tara, thank you for being on Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes. It's an honor, and you are a hero. But we're not done with this interview because we're going to take a little walk around the museum right now. Is that okay?
That'll be amazing.
That's great. All right. All right, Tara, we are at the museum. So talk us through. Let's have a tour.
Well, when you first enter the museum, you see what we lovingly refer to as our touchy-feely section. We do this so that when the kids come in, they're allowed to get in the tent, they're allowed to touch the Lister bag, they're allowed to touch the cast of the replica, they're allowed to look at the mess kits. This is kind of getting their energy out when they first come in. Of course, we have a lot of adults that take advantage of getting in that tent and taking selfies too. So
I can imagine.
We put the kids on the hand generator and make them try to understand what it would be like to have to sit there for hours on end if that was your job. They get a kick out of that. So this is really a nice part of our museum for the children.
All right.
And then, of course, our museum is set up in a timeline of the wars. So we start here with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, because without these documents, we would have no reason to have a military or this museum. And we also offer a copy of them to all of our visitors for free so that they can always have them with them. Then we start our tour, and it goes around, starting with World War I here on the left. All of this is authentic memorabilia donated by veterans and their family members. We actually just got this uniform in the other day. So the World War I stuff is still around, and we're honored that families trust us with it when they bring it to us and donate it. The only uniforms that are not authentic in this museum are the Continental Army and this one as well. These were made by reenactors, so they were handmade, but they're not period authentic.
This is just amazing. It's almost overwhelming. There's so much stuff.
Yes, sir. Well, and unfortunately, we're running out of room because I have more stuff. I just don't have a place to put it.
And that's why people need to donate, because we need another building.
I already have the plans drawn up. We just need to get the funding. We were talking earlier about this museum being so personal. And you'll notice up here, you'll see Valentine Nemec. Well, as we go through the museum, you'll see Valentine, and then you'll also see Jerry Nemec in World War II. It was father and son.
Wow.
So it's neat to have those here. Then we have our display on the Civil War, the Buffalo Soldiers, and then we start into the cavalry in World War II. When Juan's daughter came and brought this to us, it was almost like we were having his funeral all over again. His display is really unique because it shows the progress through being in the cavalry, into the Army Air Corps, and then into the Air Force. So that's really a unique display. But it was very touching and very moving for her and I as well. And I told you a little bit about my good friend James Allen. And this is him here. And we have several photos of us throughout the years together. But like I said, he was an amazing man. We had a lot of fun his last 2 years here in Huntsville with us.
Yeah, I just, it breaks my heart sometimes that these guys aren't alive to do some of the interviews we're doing now, but you're speaking for them.
Yes, sir. It's my honor and privilege.
I noticed you got a lot of G.I. Joe stuff around. That kills me.
We do. Well, you know, children respond to what they know. So if we can use the toys to explain to them about what they're seeing above it, or what they're hearing us talk about, it's really a good teaching tool. We have a lot of kids that do not understand. They all come over here and they all associate this with Hitler. And we have a long talk with them about how Hitler actually stole this from the Native American tribes.
Yeah.
And Hindus, as a matter of fact. It was not an evil symbol when it first began, and the children find that a very interesting story.
Wow. There's Audie Murphy, too, right there.
Yes. So Audie Murphy, we were talking in the boardroom earlier, that's named after Colonel M.B. Etheridge, and Colonel Etheridge and Audie actually served together. There's photos in there of them together that Audie autographed. Madison Wolf's granddaughter actually attends school at Sam Houston State University, and she comes up here to see her grandfather's things all the time. Jerry Nemec, I was talking to you about Valentine. Jerry was in World War II. When he got home from World War II, he was one of the first veterans to go to school at Texas A&M on the GI Bill.
And we have an interview with him.
And you have an interview with him.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is neat. We'll take pictures of this, and I think we could add this to his interview. I didn't realize. We should have done his interview out here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing man.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then, of course, as we go through, we move off of the timeline because each branch of the military has their own room as well. My Marines will tell you this is the best room in the house.
I've done several interviews in here.
That's right.
The Marines love their room.
That's right. We have a full illustration of the island hopping during World War II. And before we got the private collection, this was our only weapons wall. Now we have an entire weapons collection in the center room as well.
Yeah, we might not have time to go through that, so tell us about that.
So we had a veteran and his wife. They did not have any children. They did not want to see his collection be distributed amongst random family members or sold to private collectors. So they approached us and said they had a few things we might want to look at. I offered for him to come bring the things in, and he said, I think you need to come to the house. So I went down there, and his whole man cave was full. So I came back and gutted our workroom and created a whole new display room to hold his collection. So we were very honored that they allowed us to take that.
And that collection is all the way around the wall, every kind of weapon from every war. It's amazing.
He did an amazing job researching everything, and he even has the ammo, the scopes, everything that are period correct.
Wow.
A lot of the men that you see in this room are tour guides and have been a part of the museum since the beginning. Colonel Beals, Dennis and Don. Dennis still comes up. He was our board president for a while. And Don Beal was very involved with our museum for a long time. He will be here for our Marine Corps birthday.
This is so amazing.
Over here we have Colonel Arola. He still comes every Saturday.
And we did an interview with him right here.
With him, and he's an amazing man. His family, he has a family of service, and so his daughter finally outranked him.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's really great. And you'll notice a lot of these uniforms were Colonel Arola's, and he donated a lot of things to this museum. I can't see anymore. Oh, Jerry Vaughn. He's one of my volunteers that comes in every Monday. And here we have Kenneth Lee. He's my current board president. He's here all of the time. And I'll tell you what's really neat when we bring the kids in from the schools around here. They're like, oh my gosh, that's my principal. That's my neighbor. That's, and Ken's favorite thing to do is to ask them who the best looking Marine is on this wall. And then they look at him and they're like, is that you, Mr. Ken? You sure don't look like that anymore. But that's the kind of fun we have around here.
Yeah.
Really, really a good time. In the Navy room, we have kind of a unique display. Bob Kane, who is one of my volunteers, his wife Elaine served as well, and we lost Elaine not long ago. And when we did, he found their uniforms that they got married in her closet. So we did a display for them. These are the actual uniforms that they got married in, and then we have their wedding photos behind of them there.
Wow.
The Jacoby family, Mr. and Mrs. Jacoby and their son. You'll see Mr. Jacoby's stuff in the Korean War section, and their son is here in the Navy room.
You know what's unique about this museum is you have things that I have never seen. And I was in the military a long time, and I've been to so many military museums across the country. And it's just amazing in Huntsville, Texas, all this.
Well, they take so much pride when it's something that they own and it's a story they can tell, they want it here. They want it here so that everyone can see it and enjoy it. Bob Hall right here is one of my volunteers, and these are all the ships that he served on. But after he served during Vietnam, he went back as a civilian with Brown and Root and built K2 in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I was there. So he's the one that built that.
He's the one behind the power.
Have I met him yet?
I don't believe you met Mr. Hall.
I need to meet him because we need to make that happen.
Yes.
Because I was there before they came in and built it, and yeah, I like to meet him because he brought cable TV
He's
to us.
He's the reason you had power.
We had power and probably cable TV in the middle of a war.
Yes.
Yeah, that's neat. That's going to be neat to meet him.
Now Sam was with us. She was in the Navy. She was also a dog handler. The kids love this display. Eventually one day I want to do a room on jobs you never knew you could have in the military.
That would be really neat because after I got out of the military and I started finding out about all these jobs, I got so jealous.
Yes.
That, I didn't find one of these jobs, that were out there. And, oh.
Well, one of my other veterans you need to meet, Norman Ward, he was a Korean War veteran, but he was stationed in Germany. I
have met him. Remember, we did the video.
Did you do the video with him?
We did the video. He was on the nuclear artillery.
But he played baseball for the Army.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's what I think the kids would get a kick out of.
Yeah, how can you join the military and play baseball? And yeah, we did an interview on him, and that was neat.
This was a really heart-wrenching story when his family brought his things in. He survived, made it through his service. Everything was great, and then he got murdered. And his sisters brought this in. It was such a touching, moving day when they brought that in, and they come in and visit his display quite often.
And I think, a lot of people don't know that they can bring this to here in Honor Cafe as well, because a lot of the mothers, they have these displays at home to honor the one that they lost, but they're looking at it, and when they donate it to here, it's they can come see it, but everybody's seeing it.
That's right. Well, to me, it's a way to honor their service continually. You know, not only the family gets to honor their memory and remember them, but the general public gets to see it and honor their service. This is Mr. Art Jacoby. Art had a really unique experience. He was led to help build a mission for orphans when he was done with the Korean War. So his story was really neat. We lost Mr. Art, and Miss Janine, his wife, volunteered for us for years. She has since moved closer to her daughters.
This is kind of the thing I'm looking forward to as we move with our project. Is it would be great if we could start setting up interviews to just talk about, individuals that we've lost,
Right.
that we could highlight, all these heroes that we've lost, and that would be that's kind of the next project I think that we're going to launch on.
I think that would be great. And the kids get a kick out of all the cold weather gear, the Mickey Mouse boots. We try to have everything where they can touch it and experience it and understand a little bit. In the Marine Corps room, the guys are really good about putting the flak jackets on it and the helmet on them so that they can kind of envision what it would be like to be on those hikes with all that equipment on your back.
Yeah, the equipment was not fun to wear.
No.
It's gotten so much nicer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the cold weather gear was not made for cold weather.
Right. And you were talking about unique things that you've never seen in other museums. I have never seen a Native American war blanket or breastplate, and it never was explained to me why it's like this until Mr. Van started volunteering here. He's actually one of my board members now, but he was the chief of his tribe. So when they had the powwows, they would wear their war blanket and their breastplate over top of their uniform, and they lead the charge into the powwow.
Wow.
So the veterans of the United States Armed Forces lead the way during the powwows. I thought that was really special. I'd never seen that before. And then you interviewed Judge Wagman. Of course,
Yes.
His display is amazing. All of the things that he brought in and the fact that his emergency light actually was still working when we took it out of his bag for
Wow.
World War II.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was a great interview. And then what I didn't know was he flew with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
And
our Tuskegee Airmen display is under construction. Did you see the sign there?
Yep.
And we get so many different uniforms in, but we try really hard to show different camouflages, different time periods, so that the kids understand the evolution and the reason why there's different camo patterns.
Yeah, that's why you really need to visit here, because just doing this walkthrough and providing a video is just really can't capture everything that's here. There's just no way. And the smells, that's the other thing is you can't describe the smell. If you've been in the military and you're smelling all this stuff, it really brings back the memories about what it was like, and oh, it's just something you have to experience here.
Well, this picture right here probably tells you more about what this museum means than anything else in our entire museum. I came around the corner one day. They used to drop Barney off with me, Barney Driscoll, and they'd drop him off for the day. He was in an assisted living facility. And we would have Mackenzie's barbecue. That was our date. But then he would wander off. He was in a wheelchair, but that man can move faster backwards in a wheelchair than anybody I've seen in my life. And he'd have a cup of coffee, it'd be sloshing everywhere. But I came around the corner one day, and that's what I saw. And I had to take a picture, because that's him sitting there. That's his leggings right here in front of him that he had pulled over into his lap. And he's looking at the pictures of his service. And that, to me, that is what it is all about.
Yeah.
Is them remembering and being proud of their service and sharing that with us.
Wow.
He flew with Jimmy Stewart. That was his favorite story to tell. And he has a handwritten letter from Jimmy Stewart up there.
That is. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And just
Just
more
so
stuff.
so many of them that, Lloyd Martin, so many of these guys were so important to the beginning of this museum. And then, of course, we added the Space Force in. There's not a whole lot to add yet, but We have their insignias, we have their flags, so the kids get excited about seeing that. And then I was talking about Colonel Larola in the Marine Corps room. He found this Kaiser Jeep. It was in a field outside of a volunteer fire department. They had a water tank in the back of it and had made a brush truck out of it. So he rescued it and has had it restored. It does run.
Wow.
We take it in parades, but we decided to move it into the museum. Again, this was another storeroom, but we decided to move it in here because the sun was starting to damage the canvas top and we didn't want to see any more damage to it. So it's in here and you can go around and get in it when we're here with you and experience it. Of course, you have to be extremely short to fit in it. It's not made for tall men or women. And then you did your interview with Billy Joe Shotwell. Of course, he's one of my favorite Vietnam Huey heroes. Amazing story about, you know, how he kept evacing even after he got shot. Just a never give up attitude.
Yeah, he was amazing. One of my best interviews ever.
Yeah, and he is actually the first veteran that is living out at Fob 10 Mile, the little cabin project that we're doing out at our ranch for veterans.
Wow, that's neat. You take care of him. That's
Yes,
it. He is your project,
well,
man.
we will have 5 cabins at the ranch over 5 years. The high school and Operation Finally Home are actually providing the next 4.
And that's what people really don't grasp of what you do in your job here, because he had a brain tumor. Correct? And you know, after the operation, he's great, but he needs help. And you just stepped in and, wow, just like family.
Well,
You're taking
that's
care of
what
him.
they are.
Yeah.
They're my family. Sergeant Major Silas Copeland, he was very instrumental in the beginning of the museum. You see him down there talking to the children. That's back when they used to go to the schools. That's how this museum started, was in a window at an antique shop downtown on the square. And the school teachers decided they wanted them to start bringing the displays on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, things like that. So they were traveling around Charlotte in a group of veterans taking all of this stuff. And then the mall had a store that moved out, so they offered it to Charlotte to be able to house all of those things in and have the children come to her versus her going to all of these schools. So she was at the mall for years before we got the funding and the help from Lois Colkhurst to get this place. And so it's really been a long process, but it's amazing how much it keeps growing.
It is hard to take it all in.
Yes.
I mean, it's just you got to. It's one of those museums. It's you could walk through, I think 100 times, and then come through 101 times, and you see something you didn't see before.
Well, the guys laugh at me because they say every day they come to work they have to do a walk around because I'm constantly trying to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Trying to fix it, because I feel so bad when I put things in storage. I feel like that's somebody's story, somebody's memory that's not being told. And so we just keep changing and adding and moving and.
Well, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna get this place another building, and it'll be fun time to expand once again. And yeah, this is kind of my lane here. We're in where I'm seeing all these Army uniforms now, and this is great. There's the old Pink's uniform, which has made its way back.
Made its way back.
Thank goodness,
one of the
man.
prettiest uniforms.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure Billy Joe told you about our relationship with Sam Houston and the ROTC program.
Oh yeah.
You know, we have their memorabilia here, and we do a lot. They will be doing the colors at our Veterans Day banquet, so we're excited to have the ROTC cadets back again.
Wow. Yeah, this is so amazing.
There's just so many, you know, as you walk around and look at the walls, you know, how held. We lost him, Jay Kimbrough. We just lost Ed Duke. Their stories just, you can hear them talking, you remember their laugh, you know, you just treasure those moments that you had with them.
Yeah, look at this. This is just amazing.
Yeah, the poncho liners that they had done over in Vietnam. We have several of them. I actually have several on display down there at Honor Cafe.
Yeah.
If you look over the bar, you can see where they're all displayed down there. And I have several upstairs that I need to get out on the floor.
And those are so warm.
Yes.
They really are nice. I used to have one myself. I don't know what happened to it. You got it?
No, nobody donated yours.
It just disappeared.
The kids love these displays where they can actually see, and my Vietnam veterans explained to them about the punji steaks and the things that they would put on the, the kids are like, that would hurt so bad, and they're, well, you don't know about the infection that you get from all of the things that they put on it before they placed them there, and so the kids learn a lot. Bill Butler, we usually carry his book in our gift shop, and he comes to our major events. The Isbell family and the Campbell family, they still come in quite a bit. And then this is from when we had the traveling Vietnam Wall here before we built the museum. That was set here the Veterans Day before we built the museum. And then now we have the one permanently on display that we purchased.
Wow. So, and the other thing is just the art, all the different artwork and things that you see, and I know we did the interview about the quilts that are made, and
yes, Miss Lou.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yes, and then the dioramas, and this was a guy that served, and he says this is how he deals with his PTSD. Is he makes these little dioramas and brings them in and donates them to us. And then Ernie was a medic. He's one of my volunteers, and this is his play trunk, because he'll have the kids out here, have them wrapped up in gauze and showing him all of his medical equipment. He does a great tour.
I haven't interviewed him yet.
Yeah.
We need to interview.
We'll need to get him in here. And then we have Larry Fusaro, who works for me every Saturday. He actually brought that. He's a teacher as well, so he brought the Alpha Omega children in, but he works every Saturday with Colonel Arola.
Cool.
And helps me out. The kids love learning about the Monopoly sets from World War II.
Look at that, yeah.
Yeah, they love to read the story about how things were hidden in the Monopoly boards and how the silk maps would be slipped in between the boards.
Wow.
To help them escape.
That is neat. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't know much about that.
Yes.
Like I say, every time I come here, I learn something, and I was in for a while.
Well, and we had a POW camp here in Huntsville. And so this is a bunk that was actually out of Camp Huntsville. It's now called the Dominy Ranch, but that's what the camp looked like when it was fully going. But we had a bunch of high school kids that did a project, and then when they got done with their project, they brought it here and donated it to the museum.
Wow.
So
see, I never knew that. I did not know that Huntsville had a POW camp.
Yeah, there's actually 2 buildings still out there, but it's not set up like, you can go to Camp Hearn, and you can take tours through Camp Hearn. That was a POW camp, but ours is privately owned now.
Amazing.
But we have letters that POW family members wrote back to Huntsville thanking them for the service, or for being so kind to their family members while they were POWs here.
Wow.
So from my understanding and from talking to people about it, our POWs were allowed to work. They had gardens. They were allowed to have church services. They were, so it wasn't like your typical movie scene POW.
Yeah, quite different from what our people were. Yeah,
tortured, and they were allowed to still function and live. They were just held within those grounds of the POW camp. But they tried to treat them as humanely as possible. And there's actual letters from the family members.
Wow.
Miss Lou, that you interviewed, J.W. Gresham was actually a POW, and this letter was returned to his wife because he was missing, and it's never been opened. Miss Lou got that and framed it and brought it up here to us.
Wow.
John Fox was very instrumental in helping Charlotte start the museum. He was Army Air Corps, but all of his stuff is here. Him and Charlotte were very close. I never had the pleasure of getting to meet him. And we have Miss Lou's family members here. And we always feel it's important to talk to the young ladies that come in here about their ability to serve. And we always talk to them about how women began service. Of course, in the Civil War, we did have some women that pretended to be men in order to serve. But when women were allowed to finally serve, it was in the capacity of nurses through the Red Cross. That has evolved greatly throughout the years, but the girls loved looking at all of this and learning the history. Miss Donna, who's my librarian, does an amazing job talking about the home front. It's based on World War II era, so she talks about the aluminum recycling, the rubber tire recycling, collecting all the costume jewelry and sending it to New Guinea and various islands, because the islanders would only allow us to occupy their island if they got something in return. And they loved all that costume jewelry to be able to make their things with. It's strange the things that you come up with when you start investigating all of this stuff. And when this was from a little boy, all of his uncles and everybody served, so they would send him all of their unit patches. And his mom made that jacket for him.
It's great.
And then the code breakers, our code breakers were primarily telephone operators in the beginning.
This is amazing. I didn't know you had this in here.
Yes, and we did not know that prior to the code breakers was the Hello Girls in World War I. We didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So
wow.
We learn new things too as we go. And Miss Donna is amazing about putting displays together and researching it for us.
It's just amazing.
And one of the neatest things about being here at the museum is when we have youngsters coming in. This young lady was a homeschooled little girl, and she told me her favorite thing in the museum was Rosie the Riveter. So I asked her to go home and write me a story on Rosie the Riveter and send it to me, and I would display it in the museum. So that's what she did. And so there it is on display for her.
Wow.
We have various TVs and media throughout the museum. When we have small groups of children, a lot of times it's easier to engage them with videos. So we'll have videos playing at various times. But it's really a lot of fun. There's Colonel Arola and his wife driving in one of the Jeeps during the parade for the museum.
Yep, there they are. Wow.
We just got this in the other day, this Marine Corps. She was an air traffic controller. We never had one of these uniforms before, and it was in pristine condition to include her cover.
Yeah, I've never seen a uniform, but I know that color was popular with the Army for quite a while, and but I've never seen that kind of uniform.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
We were excited to get that in. Now, when we get to this section, we generally have to talk to the parents and the teachers prior to the tour, because this can be in a very emotional section. We thought it was only appropriate to put the chapel here in the beginning of it. We have some very nice chaplaincy displays, and this bench was donated by Miss Betty Nelson, who still comes and volunteers for me and is on my board. But you go through the chapel section before you enter the Holocaust section. The reason we talk to the parents and the teachers about it is because some of the photos in here are very graphic, and if they're not ready to have that talk with their children about what the Holocaust actually was and what the people went through, then we tell them it's probably not best to bring their children back here. Our library is named after Leonard Bishop, and Leonard Bishop was actually there during the Liberation. These are actually postcards that when he was in town, they were selling these in a little store there, and he was so appalled that he went in there and took the postcards because he could not believe that those people were trying to sell those and benefit off of those, but they're actually postcards.
I never knew that.
Yes.
Wow.
And yes, the organ does work. Occasionally, one will come back here and turn it on and start playing for us.
No way. That's
Yes.
great.
Now, this is really a unique story. This was a young bride who did not have a wedding dress. So her service fiance lovingly went and stole a parachute made of silk and brought it home to her, and her sister both wore this dress, but that's an actual parachute. And their granddaughter still comes in and brings people in to see that.
That's amazing.
And then this is a book from World War II. She was part of the Defiance. So
Gotcha.
she would hide things in here, and she carried that book with her all those years, and it survived all of these years, and it got donated to us.
That's amazing.
And there's a story of her in this book they also served. So it's a really unique story. She was 17 when she met him. Now, at this portion, you'll see women's uniforms integrated in because a lot of these women have recently gotten out. So Lisa Hackett is on my board. Murphy just recently got out not long ago. She still comes in. She's part of the VFW. This part is really personal to a lot of my volunteers and a lot of our people that come in because it's so new. I had a person ask me the other day why the younger generation hasn't stepped up and joined our VFWs and our American Legions and things such as that. And I said, well, there hasn't been enough healing yet. There hasn't been enough personal healing for them to be able to tell their story. And when that healing occurs, then they'll be able to open up and start going in and enjoying the camaraderie with their brothers and sisters. The Prince family is really unique. Prince was a recruiter here in Huntsville, but all of his brothers and sisters served, all 6 of them. So they lived out in Beat-Eyes, Texas. We tried, again, like I said, to have every different kind of camouflage pattern. You know, the chocolate chip, the multi-cams, the deserts, the field, you know, the digi-cams. That way the kids understand what it's all about. And then this is my son here. He's still serving, and that was his 12-man group when he was in Afghanistan. He went SVAB. When they reinstituted SVAB, he was in the first 4 groups. And then Erica, my admin assistant that you met, this is her. She's a Purple Heart recipient.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Why have I not interviewed her?
Well, we need to get that done.
Yes, we do.
And you know what's so touching is the kids see this, and I'm like, they're like, is she okay? I said, yes, would you like to meet her? And she comes out, and they're like, oh, are you okay? They give her big hugs.
That's amazing.
And so, you know, it means something because those children see the sacrifice that she made.
Yeah. We have a lot of work to do.
We do. We do.
But this is so amazing because it's an evolving story.
Yes. Well, I hope we continue to grow. And like I said, we already have the plans drawn up to that door that's over there by the Holocaust to go out and then down and enclose that outside pavilion, make a whole new display area. We already have the plans drawn. We just got to raise the funds.
Well, I apologize to our viewers for the maybe the not the greatest video of this is we're trying to walk through, and I've got a great friend pushing us through here, Greg Garcia. But what I do want to convey with this is it's just not anything you can really experience on a YouTube. You need to come here. You need to make a trip. This museum is worth a vacation because I could spend 3 days in here.
Well,
Easy.
This Harley was signed by 17 Medal of Honor recipients from Vietnam. It was owned by Jay Kimbrough. He took it around and got all the signatures. And then Rick Perry drove it from Austin to here, and they commissioned it and donated it to our museum.
That's amazing. So we need to get a hold of Rick Perry because he can help us more with fundraising,
There
right?
he is.
There he is. So, you know, we really do need to do a big deal fundraiser to get this other building going.
I believe so.
And we can pull in some of these people because, we can make it happen. We will make it happen. Just amazing. Wow.
And then I was telling you about Mr. Bishop. Our library is named after him. He's got a really unique story. So he was shot twice, but both times it hit the spoons in his backpack. So his story that he loved to tell the kids was he went to try to get a third spoon and the Army said, no, you can't have any more. You've ruined 2 of them. But Mr. Bishop's son Larry is on my board. And so his family has lovingly donated these things to us. And then our library is named in his honor. Our library has over 4,000 volumes of military books and manuals that Miss Donna catalogs. Right now I have a bunch of other items in there we're cataloging.
Wow.
But it stays busy, and we don't allow people to check out our books, but we will allow people to come in and research, and we do make copies for them if they need it for their projects.
And now we're to the gift shop.
Yes, and we try really hard to keep every branch of the military in here. T-shirts, koozies, cups, mugs, magnets, jewelry, you name it, it's in here. We just got hit hard by that big group of kids this morning, so we're pretty lacking on the toy department. But we have the garden flags and license plates and caps, and we're cheaper than the PX, I can promise.
I bet you are.
Lots of fun stuff. And then we have custom made things. We have a local gentleman that does a lot of wood carving, and he makes a lot of different things for us.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course we have all the lapel pins and all of that good stuff. Things specifically for the wall. When we put that in, we have patches, coins, and lapel pins for the wall.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. Oh, so much.
So much.
Well, I want to thank you. We're going to post this as a separate video. We're going to split this up. We'll do the walkthrough as one video, and then our interview with some other pictures for the first interview. But really what I wanted to convey to people is it's neat to see through the video, but you can't experience it unless you're here. And
well,
you really need to come.
I agree.
So thanks again for all you do.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you came today.
All right, and we will see you again soon.
Okay, sounds great.